The tax bill that just passed the House Ways and Means Committee has massive breaks for small business owners. And in today's video, I'm going to break down the two most significant breaks that are going to save you money on your tax return. I'm Matt Sorensen. Let's build wealth. All right, let's talk about the first massive break in the bill. Bonus depreciation is back, baby. This was a bill provision that was back in 2017. It went into effect and you got 100% bonus depreciation when you bought an equipment or vehicle in your business. What this means is if you bought equipment, you got to write off 100% of the value of that equipment that you put into service into your business. Right now, if you buy equipment in your business, you depreciate it over time. The max amount you can take in the first year in 2025 is 40%. And next year in 2026, it's only going to be 20%. What that means is you have to take that expense over 5 years, possibly, before you get the whole value back on your tax return. Now, in the new bill, whenever you buy equipment or qualifying vehicles in your business, you get to take 100% write-off. Now, I'm going to go over an example of what this means for a business owner making $250K a year. And I'm also going to show the next tax provision and how these two combined make massive wins for small business owners and how much tax you're going to have to pay. All right, now let's look at the next provision here. This is qualified small business. This is the small business deduction of 20%. This is set to expire next year. This deduction is a 20% deduction off your small business income. If you're making $300,000 a year in your small business, you get to take a $60,000 deduction, only taxes if you made $240,000 a year. If a bill is not passed, this goes away next year. Well, what was just passed by the House Ways and Means Committee was an increase from 20% to 23%, and this deduction is made permanent. They're not putting it on another 10-year window like they did last time, where we're gonna face expiration, which is what we're facing right now. This is increased to 23%, and it is a permanent deduction that will go into the tax code. All right, I wanna give an example to just illustrate how these tax savings matter. Let's say we're in tax year 2026 now, okay? With this bill passing and without it passing, all right? Let's say a business owner makes $250K of income a year, okay? This is the amount of money they made after everything they wrote off, but we're gonna add in one new thing. Let's say they bought $50,000 of new equipment or a new vehicle in the business. Now, this is where 199 bonus depreciation comes into effect. What's gonna happen is if this bill passes in 2026, this would count for 2025 too, but let's just say we're in 2026, this 50K becomes an immediate write-off. They're only gonna be taxed now as if they made $200,000, immediately a write-off. However, if we're sitting in 2026 and this doesn't pass, you only get to take 20% of that expense, which means you're only gonna get a $10,000 deduction. So now you're gonna be at 240K. So obviously the 100% under the new bill over here is much better than sitting over here. Now that other $40,000 of expense you'll take over time, but it's better to get a write-off now and save on taxes now than have this write-off trailing off into the future. So most business owners and individuals, of course, want to take as much write-off as possible at the time they incur the expense. Now, by the way, you get this whether you paid the cash for it, you got a loan to purchase the equipment, whatever it may be. You don't have to spend the 50K. You could have got a loan or some other financing to acquire it, and you can still take the bonus depreciation. All right, so let's move forward here to the next provision, the QSBS, and let's follow over here. If the bill passes, again, we're assuming we're in 2026 here. On the left-hand side, now we only have $200,000 of taxable income, but now we get to take QSBS, which is a 23% deduction. 23% of 200K is $46,000. That is gonna lower my taxable income now as a small business owner down to $154,000. That is pretty awesome. Those two benefits. Now I did have to spend some money on some equipment, but maybe you need that for your business, a trailer in the business, tools, other equipment, a qualifying vehicle. Those things are gonna count. Okay, I spent that money, 50K, but also I got the QSBS deduction for doing nothing, just because it's in the tax code. This is your reward as a small business owner, all right? Okay, so now we're down to $154,000. If this bill doesn't pass, now what would happen next is I got $240,000 of income because I only got a $10,000 deduction for the 50K of equipment that I bought. Now QSBS is gone. There's no QSBS deduction anymore. QSBS is zero. I am taxed on $240,000 of income now. So the question is, do you want to be taxed as if you made $240K or $154K? Okay, this is the benefit of this bill to small business owners. And we're not talking about millionaires here or large corporations. This QSBS, the small business, now 23% deduction, let's hope this passes, versus it expiring is huge. The bonus depreciation of 100%, also huge. Again, in 2026, this is going to go down to 20%. In 2025, it's 40% right now that you get as bonus depreciation. But the last critical part of this is these two provisions are going to be made permanent. When they did the last tax reform almost 10 years ago, what they did was corporate tax reform was made permanent for the big companies. Small business, they give us bonus depreciation and they gave us QSBS at 20%, but it had a 10-year ticking time clock that is about to expire. Now, what they're doing under this bill, which is one thing that I love, is not only are they bringing these back, they're raising the amount on QSBS and they're making both of those provisions permanent, and they will go into effect in 2025. On your 2025 tax return, you will get the higher QSBS rate and you will have bonus depreciation for the 2025 tax year. So lots of benefits here. There's other things in the bill for small business. One other thing to note for you business owners where you have to send 1099s to contractors over $600 of payment, you now have to only do that if it's over $2,000. So your 1099 requirement and burden hopefully goes down a little bit. There's some other nuances here on clean energy and stuff. Frankly, a lot of that stuff was killed in the bill. There's politics behind that. But for me as a business and tax lawyer helping clients across the country, bonus depreciation and QSBS were the two biggest benefits that we saw business owners love and use. And I want to make sure you're knowledgeable about these and using them on your tax return. Tax policy is great, but tax planning and tax strategies you can implement no matter what the tax law is even more powerful. And that's what we do at my law firm, KQS Lawyers. Get over to KQS Lawyers. You can book a call with our team, do a comprehensive tax and business analysis on your situation with strategies to save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And finally, I want to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So please subscribe. I'm going to be back with updates. There's going to be amendments, some back and forth with the Senate. We're hoping this passes the House soon. The big plan of the Republican Party is to get this on the president's desk by July 4th to sign into law. Once it's signed into law, these provisions go into effect in 2025. Most of this tax bill and these provisions will be effective this tax year. Now, I hope you find this video helpful. I'm Matt Sorensen. We'll see you next time.